Unit 1 Fairy Tales.
Lesson 3. Rip Van Winkle. Read the lesson. Long ago in North America lived Rip Van Winkle, a simple, good-natured but lazy man. He was always willing to help his neighbors and listen to what was troubling them. Everyone in the village liked him. He was very popular with them, taught them to fly kites, and told them long, interesting stories. He loved to spend time with his little daughter too. Unfortunately, his wife was bad-tempered and nagged poor Rip all day long. She complained, "You are always willing to help others, but you don't do any work at home or on the farm. Our family is in rags." In order to get away from his nagging wife, he would often take his gun and go to the Catskill Mountains with his constant and faithful companion, Wolf, his dog. One day he went to the mountains and spent the entire day there. He liked to go there. As he rested, a cool breeze blew. In fact, he fell asleep under a tree. When he woke up, it was already evening. He was heading back home when Rip was surprised to hear someone call out his name. "Rip Van Winkle! Rip Van Winkle!" He turned and saw a strange little man going up the mountain slope, carrying a barrel on his back. He was bending under its weight. The stranger asked Rip to help him. So he did, and they went ahead. Rip also heard the sound of distant thunder. Soon they reached an open clearing. Rip was astonished to see men strangely dressed, little men playing ninepins. They were rolling balls, and it was the noise which had sounded like thunder. The men looked serious and were absolutely quiet while playing. When the dwarfs noticed Rip, they stopped the game and stared at him. They took the barrel and emptied its contents into big containers with handles. They drank from it and offered it to Rip too. Since he was very thirsty, he drank it and liked it. He took more of it and soon drifted into a deep, deep sleep. When Rip awoke, it was a bright morning. There was sunshine around, and he thought he had slept all night. The dwarfs were not to be seen. He looked for his dog, Wolf, but could not find him. He began to make his way down the mountain to his village, carrying his gun. To his utter surprise, everything had changed. He did not remember for how long he had slept. He met many people in the village, but no one recognized him. He thought he knew everyone who lived there, but he couldn't recognize them either. He stroked his beard, which he realized was over a foot long, grizzled. He wondered how long he had been asleep. He looked around and saw new houses and buildings everywhere as he moved towards his house. The streets looked different, and it was not easy to find his way home. People were dressed in different kind of clothes and stared at him as they spoke in whispers. Some dogs even barked and chased him as if he were a stranger. The portrait of King John III on an inn had been replaced by one of George Washington. At last, Rip reached his house, but could not believe his eyes. It was in ruins, and it appeared that no one had lived there for years. Rip was puzzled and wandered away. He realized that he must have slept for many years and not just for one night. A large crowd gathered around him. He looked at them and cried, "I'm Rip Van Winkle. Doesn't anyone here remember me?" He discovered that his wife had died and most of his friends were killed fighting in the American Revolution. He also realized that he had been away from the village for 20 years. His grown-up daughter was there with her baby in arms. She took him with her. Her baby's name was Rip. He continued to lead an idle and happy life there. He would tell others stories and also about the dwarfs he had met on the mountains. New words: willing, ready; bad-tempered, easily annoyed or angered. Nagged, constantly found fault with someone. In rags, in torn and worn out clothes. Distant, far away. Astonished, greatly surprised. Utter, complete. Grizzled, having grey hair.